Robert Lee, how are you, sir?
Mr. James H., how are you today?
Listen, I am fantastic. It's another day. It was a Thursday, May 27th. Verbose Perspectives is live. Can't get much better than that, right?
Indeed, indeed. It's always a good time whenever I get a chance to speak with you and kibitz, as they say. I was going to say in showbiz, but is it really showbiz? I think it's more like online biz. So,
That's it. I appreciate it. But do want to verify that all channels are live. I'm not seeing my YouTube is actually live. So if our producer can take a look at that and make sure that we are where we're supposed to be. I don't mind just talking to you, but we want to make sure that a couple of other folks are listening as well.
exactly. I'm checking on your YouTube page, and it's weird. I do show that we're pushing out live to your channel, but it's not going through, which is odd. Um, hmm. Let me
That's all right.
just try something.
Well, we can troubleshoot that at a later time. I will say, folks who are joining, thank you very much from myself and from Robert. As you know, Verbose Perspectives, we talk about all things business, things marketing, things entrepreneurship. Look to have a good dialogue with folks that are joining in for the live, but also want to connect with you on the replay squad as well. Today, what is it we're talking about today? We're talking about social media management automation. Was that it? That's
Yep.
that's a, that's a, that's a mouthful. It's a whole
It's
lot of things to talk about. But is that where we're going today?
indeed, indeed. I mean, in addition to like just comparing notes as to what we've been using, what we know, what we're looking for, it's just one where we're just like encouraging like our initiative with our program, just getting people involved. So one of the great things that we're using the Restream platform is to be able to bring people in on the program. So let me just bring up the chat overlay so that we don't miss anyone ask any questions or comments and stuff. So
Awesome,
um,
awesome. And that right there, that's actually a pretty cool feature of Restream when you're going directly through the studio, being able to bring in comments on screen, right, as opposed to having them outside of the window. So that's a good thing. I guess let's get started with this. Let me pose a couple of questions off of the cuff to you. Are you automating your social media strategy and management? Or how do you go about pushing out your message to your community, either prior to going live, prior to going and doing video production for an event that you would do typically outside of the COVID world, those kinds of things. How do you manage
all right.
your social media management?
My solution is hybrid. So if I can, and if I know in advance, I love to be able to schedule it just because it gives me time to be able to get the word out in advance and to distribute the appropriate channels. But sometimes, if it's a little bit spontaneous in terms of, let's say, if I have an idea and I want to be able to go live or push out a thought, sometimes I like the ability to be able to do it manually and just push it out myself. Sometimes I do it natively if it's something that's going to be more favorable as to how it's being picked up on the news feed or
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
the distribution. So a little bit of both. How about you, James? Do you use both, or do you use one or like the other?
I am a walking beta tester, right? I will say that I've looked at and or used darn near every aggregator that's out there. So the buffers, the Hootsuites, the Sprout Socials, all of those tools for being able to see at a highlight and a glance all of your social channels and then respond to them effectively. You can get lost in the weeds of having too many tools, but there's value in the automation piece because, like, just literally before we went live, I was able to schedule a tweet to go out to all of my different Twitter profiles that says we're live, and here's the link to my YouTube channel. So hopefully you're behind the scenes getting that getting that YouTube channel up and running, so there could be some engagement from that perspective. But no, I'm trying to focus and trying to move almost completely to automation, right? Because there's so much that happens pre, during, and post an event, right? The setup and the marketing and all of the the assets that we have to put together before a show is one thing, and you really want to be able to focus on the message and the content and the audience during the show, so as opposed to trying to push buttons, and instead of trying to send tweets and profile updates and things of that nature, if that can be automated, and that's kind of the best of all worlds, I think, from at least from my perspective. So
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it can be a handful, especially if you're for one channel or for one brand is planning to deal with. But when you're dealing with more than one, too, I mean, yeah, I mean, definitely you want to be able to have something that's automated that just be able to manage things. Otherwise, it just gets a little bit.
overwhelming. Now, are you
Yeah.
specifically on any social network, or do you have one of preference? Are you a LinkedIn, Facebook? Are you a Twitch, whatever the case may be? Where do you tend to spend the majority of your time in terms of pushing your messages out?
So I bounce between Instagram, LinkedIn Live, Facebook, YouTube, and if I'm able to, like on the like the my Google um to my Google URL to be able to push
Yeah.
content out there, and sometimes Twitter. I think because like what I do is a lot more visual. I tend to favor more to like Instagram, and if I'm able to change things up with LinkedIn as well in terms of providing visual content, just to help things pop.
Okay. Now, and so when you put something out to like an Instagram, or so, are you just creating um, default stories and default posts using the Instagram app, or are you, I don't know, like using something to create audiograms, like a headliner or something like a wave? Well, I mean, right? Walk us through and walk me through kind of your process when you post something on Instagram. Are you what that process is, what that workflow looks like? I think that would be kind of valuable for folks to understand how someone in your position, right, in your industry, utilizes those services and tools.
Right. So for Instagram, when I use stories, I tend to favor going live, just for the fact that it's a little bit different. Where most folks, you would see a lot more short video clips or images, and I like to try to shake it up just to be able to the to use that platform to talk to people directly as more behind the scenes, whether preparing for a show. Maybe in that setting, it's a little bit more informal, so maybe a little more casual in the approach of how I present material.
Hmm.
In terms of like the actual post itself, um, whether it's images or maybe like video clips, just basic edit videos I've done on Adobe, whether it's something I may try to take a snippet from the show, or maybe if I just do like a um, what I call like these pop up type of teasers to promote the show,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
try to get that in there as a way of content that I would put in there. I know for a in terms of try to automate things, I know sometimes like if I'm trying to promote the show, it's a little bit tricky with Instagram, and where like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you could post the URL to share an image, where I'm not able to do that in Instagram. So I had to
Right.
use another tool called Linktree, just to be able to put in the bio, so that whenever I say, oh, you can catch the show, link in the bio, at least they'll be able to click on the link there, and be able to see the show live, or see the replay. So that way, it's just, I find it that any limitations, either within the platform itself or even like within the social media management tool, is to try to find another way to work around it. Sometimes that may include looking at another third party tool, or just some sort of a combination of the two that's create a workaround. So
Gotcha.
depending on the type of materials I'm posting, it requires me to kind of figure out, like, okay, can I do it directly? Okay, if I can't, do I need to make a workaround? Okay, if I don't need a workaround, I may able to post it in other manners. So it's always like a constant. I hate to use the word mental flux as to how I approach it in terms of what I put out there and try to work around any challenges. But
Yeah.
that's just Instagram. I mean, like with Facebook, I think it's just a matter of just, is it going to be visual or is it going to be text? And that gives me Facebook and LinkedIn. I guess there's some leeway as to what I can post, whether it's a URL or straight text, to be able to post there. Twitter, because of the character limits, I can only say so much, and so it's a matter of just trying to figure out, okay, if I got something this long, I got to
very
be able to.
concise. Yes, be very concise.
Yeah. So sometimes I have to. I mean, sometimes I'm lucky to be able to use things like ampersands as a shortcut. But if it's something where I need to really explore the space and just try to describe things, it's almost like, I hate to use this, but like a shortcut would be kind of teased up, like, hey, want to hear what we're going to talk about? Click here, something like that. Just to be able to get it under the 30 character, well, not 30 character, it's a 96 character limit. I'm drawing a blank for Twitter, but just whatever it is to kind of meet that threshold to push it out there. I mean, do you find yourself needing to come up like workarounds, or you work with the platform natively when you post things, or sometimes, or using the management tool helps you solve a lot of the problems? Or
Yeah, the best answer I can give to you is that it depends, right? So right, and it's that's really the best answer that I can give, because nothing really checks all of the boxes, right? There is a need to kind of bend and flex and kind of be able to be flexible with some of these things. So, but I am still consistently, consciously looking at aggregators. So one of them that I mentioned a couple already, but one that am still using now is Content Studio. I'm looking at one called Agora Pulse right now. That one's getting a lot of kudos from folks that I'm engaging with, and that may be the end all to be all where I go. But again, just being able to pull in all of the feeds, being able to create shortened links natively if necessary, being able to queue and schedule and respond back to folks from all the different channels from one local dashboard. That really checks a number of the boxes for me. But then the fact that some of these that I'm mentioning also have a mobile app, right? So again, when I'm away from the home studio or something, I can log in through the app and actually take a look at what's happening on each of those channels, respond back effectively. So that's kind of where I'm going when it comes to Instagram, because I do want the visuals to be, quite frankly, I want them to be amazing, right? So I'm using tools that really kind of show off and highlight the capabilities of each social network. So something like a headliner is what I'm using for the audiograms. So each show. So after this show, I'll pull down 60 seconds of the audio and turn that into an audiogram, post that out on Instagram, and make sure that I tag the various topics that we discuss. And that'll start growing and have inspiring out and having legs in and of itself, just because you have a visually pleasing piece of content that's out there on the largest network. You're able to tag folks, you're able to tag categories, things like that. So that works really well. Twitter is obviously a monster in and of itself, and that could be a pro and that can be a con. But that's really kind of where it all started, right? Being able to hashtag it, being able to have separate conversations about different topics. So I use that very, very consciously, right? I don't. I used to spend a lot of time in Twitter chats, and that's initially how I got a decent sized community on Twitter. But now I'm really trying to be targeted about the messages that I put out there. So not a lot of noise, right? So just really focus commentary and dialogue on Twitter, so that I don't discourage folks that have subscribed to my feed and to my profile. So you mentioned something interesting that I want to talk about as well. You talked about Linktree, and I've seen Linktree, and I use Linktree for about 30 seconds. And the reason that I think that I did that was, it's just links. Um, I'm trying to be graphical. We're content creators. We're visual people. There are a handful of other platforms out there that really allow you to do visual embeds, to do dynamic RSS feeds from like your YouTube page, to be able to integrate your Spotify and your Apple Music podcast feed as well. So I kind of stepped away from Linktree and have started using a couple of other tools, and we can probably put them in the show notes. The ones that I'm just going to think off the top of my head. One is called One Sheet. One is
Yep.
called solo.to, and that's the one that I use currently on like my email signature right now, solo.to, and that allows me to automatically pull in, like I say, my podcast feeds, my YouTube channel, um, everything from my blog as well. So every time a post gets written on infotainmentnews.net, it actually will automatically feed into solo.to. There's another one called uh, Linktube. Linktube. I found them not too long ago off of AppSumo. Love AppSumo. Oh my gosh. Look,
Yeah, I know.
AppSumo has gotten so much of my money, but it's all in love, and it's all in support of these phenomenal companies, because you, a lot of them you get in early when they're still trying to beta test the platform, and you get a lifetime deal for pennies on a dollar compared to someone who's going to come in and buy it directly from the company's website in a month or so. So, LinkTube is the one that I just signed up for off of AppSumo, and it's very similar to Solo.to, right? Being able to pull in dynamic feeds for all of your locations, being able to pull in photo galleries as well. So your Smug Mug, I think Flickr was one. I can't remember what the other one was, but again, having those types of things, and the real kicker for me on some of these other ones that you have to spend a little bit for a subscription is the analytics, right? So I
Yeah.
know who's coming in from where, I know what they're clicking on, and it gives me kind of that reporting, and I can actually reshuffle the content on that landing page, so to speak, right? So if I see folks are really clicking on the top stuff on maybe the buy me a coffee link, or the calendar link to book a meeting, but they're not clicking as much as I may want them on the podcast feed, I can actually move that up within the order of the page to kind of get a little more
Okay.
eyes, some of the above the fold kind of thing. So yeah, there's tools out there, and we can have a whole discussion about subscriptions, and how many subscriptions and how many tools do you need. But um, there are some things that I feel there's value in actually paying and contributing to the development of some of these tools and platforms and automation practices. So
Okay. I'm just trying to monitor the feed for whatever reason. I apologize, James. There's something that's blocking my ability to get the feed over to your YouTube channel. So what I've informed your listeners there, I gave them the Shalala Productions YouTube link,
cool.
and so we had FH Umpire and I Am Tallboy chiming in, eagerly looking for the content, and we had some other people on. Shalala, like Artfully Blind. She uses the Linktree as well for Instagram, and even though she missed, that's a pain. So yeah, it's just interesting. It's just as the things out there and what you got to manage. I mean, good God.
I'm gonna throw a little selfish kidney punch at you right here, brother, because and take it all in
Yeah,
jest. I'm gonna take it all in jest, right? Because you say Tall Boy is watching too, so he's a VMix guy. You're a VMix guy.
yeah,
You're producing
yes, I
right now,
am.
so that's two X's in the left column right now but I'm just gonna leave that out there. But the show must continue to go on. But I just had to throw that
Which
out
I
there.
must. But I was ready for it. So in which case,
Oh my gosh. That's all right. There they go, folks.
like
Right
to see you do that with the cam.
don't
It's all
hold my
good.
hold my beer, brother. No, we could do some things, right? But you see, when you try to do a little too much, then things go awry. But I'm gonna keep it positive now, and continue to
Nah,
have the dialogue. So that was good. You had
no
that
worries.
already just queued up because you knew probably I was gonna throw something at your way. But that's all right. That's all right. Um,
Well,
let me ask you because I did a lot of talking about getting the tools that I use and just when you engage
I'm here.
with thank you when you engage with your clients, right, and they hire shalala for a from a contract perspective or for an event or whatever the case may be, in your writer or in your pamphlet, in your materials that you give to the client, how do you go about talking about booking, or how do you go about talking about pricing social media management activities, or do you, right? Is that just something that's probably included? You're going out, you're filming a wedding, you're filming a commercial, you're filming an event, so to speak. Do you do any promotion like that from a social media perspective, or and do you charge for that, or again, is that something that's rolled into your overall services?
Well, I mean, it's kind of strange in that of the people that we dealt with, it's almost, I hate to use the word silo, but it's almost like it's their baby as to how they want to promote. I mean, by all means, if they do need that type of service or that help, we'd be glad to be able to work with them. And as you say, like with anything, the project as to what the cost entails with resources and personnel. But it's almost as if because they know their brand well, that they rather be able to manage on their end as to how they have things distributed. Just because I guess it's almost like they, if people have a certain way of how they want to handle things, it's almost like, well, if it's adding to it, it's one thing. But if it's something like you're taking that information and putting it through your own type of management tools, I wouldn't say they would get squirrely or anything like that. But it's just, I think it's just that uncertainty is like, if it's going to be handled in a timely manner, is it going to be presented well. So it's just so far, if anything, if any type of a social media management is, it's almost like indirectly. So if, let's say if we're doing a shoot and we're filming someone's um office, we may do like behind the scenes and then and tag them,
Hmm.
just so that we know that we give them like an indirect shout out. So that way it just amplifies their efforts. So, but so most cases they've handled on their own in terms of how they push out the content. But that's not to say that we wouldn't have the tools or the means to be
Yeah.
able to provide that service. It just hasn't been called upon. But now uh, I think if anything, at the very least, whether it's behind the scenes type of work or just saying, hey, we're at a shoot with client XYZ, and tag them, whether it's on Twitter,
Hmm.
LinkedIn, YouTube, just so at least it gives them a little bit of an organic type of a push in terms of like, oh, who are these companies, and they would check out their site. So there's, so I would say depends, but in some ways, we find a way to at least try to help them out, or at least let them know that they have a digital footprint in the social media world.
Makes sense.
Do
Makes
you
sense.
do you get do you get the? I know like the work you do is different from what I do, but do you often have opportunities to like either advise them or help them out, or in terms of managing the social content?
Yeah, and it varies as well, right? So for the day job, let me put it that way, right? For the things that I do from the engineering uh, entrepreneur perspective, uh, I'm helping and working more with the public relations teams when new updates, new products announcements, when new services and things like that get pushed out. I'm actually within the organization. I am social media advisory certified, something like that. SMAC. I don't know what it stands for, but I'm authorized by the organization to actually tweet out and push information out from a social media perspective about X, Y, or Z. So that's a great thing. Now, when it comes to the left side of my brain, Hicks New Media, and all of the uh, digital publishing and technology consulting that I'm doing on that side, that again really depends on what the overall effort is, right? So if I'm helping someone to either understand how to utilize tools for video or audio production, that's a whole different story. If someone has a campaign that they're working on, 9 times out of 10, right, it just makes sense to have multiple people pushing a concerted message and driving that towards a particular location, be a landing page, be a website, be a shopping cart, or whatever the case may be. So that's included in the offering that I will definitely do.
Mhm.
Working with brands, right, and doing reviews or doing product overviews and things of that nature. There's always an unwritten line item in contracts or negotiations to say make sure you tag the company, you tag the product, you tag folks that are working, and the marketing folks that are working in conjunction. So that always happens, right? Just again to make sure that I'm not just posting the video on YouTube, or I'm not just posting the short out there. I'm not just posting the story on Instagram, but there's also a tagging of the individual, a tagging of the company. High quality photo and some text around
Right.
whatever we're talking about. So long story and long answer short is, irregardless of if it's explicitly written in any type of contract or agreement, there's always a push from my end and my team's end to make sure that the message gets amplified as much as possible by, again, using multiple names, multiple hashtags, multiple
Yeah.
mentions and things of that nature. So I think, again, the more focused chatter, the better, as opposed to pushing out unfocused chatter, which end up turning into noise. Right. So again, that's kind of my goal. That's my mantra, and I'll stick with it until someone tells me otherwise. It's worked pretty good this far. So
Yeah. It's a lot. I know, like, in earlier iterations, especially like with Twitter,
mm,
where if you make a slight typo with the hashtag
mhm.
or with the name, it's almost like it would drive me nuts. And if I would give a point with automation, is just the fact that if you're scheduling it and you catch it before you go out, it's a
Mhm.
great thing to be able to go in there before. But if it's done like after the fact, or if you do it natively, then it's like, do I delete the post just to get it right, just for the hashtag? But if there's already some traction in there, like, am I gonna lose the analytics? They're like, so
Yeah.
that's those kind of things. It kind of drives me nuts, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's almost like you kind of like weigh the pros and cons as to what approach to go about, whether you're first to post versus
Mhm.
um, schedule, and then be able to correct the flaws. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's a weird catch-22, because right, if you make an error on Twitter, you would want to delete it, but again, if there's already been some
yeah,
conversation and kind of a spidering of the conversation already off of that misworded statement, you kind of want to keep it so you can have kind of that traction, and when you look back at the analytics. But yeah, if you can catch it in time before 100 or so folks start commenting on it, then definitely I always delete them, and start over and do it the right way. So um,
yeah,
talk,
and
talk to me.
and
Go,
I
go ahead, man.
oh no, it's just like, what's kind of weird is, like, when I schedule, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or even oh god, not Twitter. What was it? It'll come to me. But it's kind of hard, where, like, if you want to, like, have the tags built in when you do the
Hmm.
post,
Hmm.
it's a little bit finicky. I know, like, with Socialbee, I'm not able to get it reliably when I do it within Facebook or LinkedIn, even with the putting in the the ad sign. So sometimes, like, if I'm able to, like, if I'm doing it the same day when I schedule, I'll try to go in there quickly and try to, like, do it manually to be able to get the tags up there, so it'll come up there, because sometimes, like, it's, for whatever reason, it doesn't pick up, like, in the scheduling. So at least with Instagram, when I Social B, I guess, doesn't have a direct uh I don't know if it's the API, or what have you, but
Hmm.
there's like an intermediate step where you schedule the Instagram post, and then it'll tell you, "Hey, are you ready to post it live now?" I'm like, "All right." So in a way, it's almost like it treats it as a
Okay.
as like a wake up call to be able to push it out. So at least for that, there's like a little catch. So like if I'm not able to put the tag in there properly, at least when I go into Instagram before post, I can then kind of make sure it's picking up. Like so, like if when I was posting about the opponent show, I didn't see the the, the J Hicks being bolded saying that it's being tagged, so I had to go in there manually and be able to correct it.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
so it's
See,
like those little quirks.
and that is exactly the reason I always say, and no disrespect or nothing at all, but you kind of get what you pay for, and that is really why Agora Post right now is at the top of my list in terms of these automation tools, because I've only been on the trial. They give you 15 days. I've been on trial for 10 days, and it's getting to the point where, again, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at Sendable. I'm looking at Falcon.io, and really narrowing down the list. And I have had zero issues with Agora Post thus far. And look, it's no small chunk of change to pay on a monthly basis, but it's not the most expensive, and it's definitely not the cheapest, but darn it, it works. So again, what's more valuable to you or to me? It's a price versus cost kind of thing. I want it to work when it's supposed to work. When I'm live, I want it to be doing what it's supposed to do in the background, and reaching out to my
Yeah.
community. So that's you almost have made the decision for me. So if anyone out there watching, listening has has a an affiliate link for Agora Post, shoot it my way, because I will definitely probably be taking advantage of that in the next 5 days. So you talked about platforms a second ago, and I think you said
Hmm.
this show is actually the first time you're also doing it as a LinkedIn event. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep.
How's that going?
It's
Is that actually live right now?
it is, and I've just been trying to monitor to see if there are any questions, and I don't see any at the moment. But it is pushing out. It is pushing out on LinkedIn. So what's a little disconcerting is that the way it works is that you need to grab the URL of the event that you create in LinkedIn and
Mm,
then pull that into Restream to be able to push it through. But I guess I'm so accustomed, especially like when I do like a LinkedIn live post, you would see like the video uh, window there is saying like going live in XYZ, but it didn't
right.
have it there in LinkedIn. So it's not until like when you push it out, it's like, oh, there it is. So, but I didn't see anything like in that I could find in literature or any of the instructional videos as to like an actual example of a
Mhm.
video from Restream going out there. So it's almost like, did I set up right? Did I set up? So, but
So
it
answer
is going. It is going out live.
so answer me this, I guess, and
It,
just from a curious question, why did you go LinkedIn event versus your standard LinkedIn live uh, publication? Why did you do something different? Was it just testing, or that just
so
being very adventurous?
Well, Adventures is being kind. I think it was it was just trying to like, well, LinkedIn is a strange beast in that I wanted to be able to take advantage of trying to figure out how to be able to get the word out.
Yeah.
I know that you can do
Me and
it
LinkedIn are not
in
on the best of talking terms right now. So this is kind of a loaded question. I've got all the
I-
access. I've got the content creator mode and everything. It doesn't work, and my ticket is still open with LinkedIn support. So I'm actually jaded as I ask the question, but I'm looking at you for guidance, sir.
no, I believe me, trust me. I've heard it from others where like they've been still waiting 2 or 3 years to get access to LinkedIn
Mhm.
Live, and they haven't got much
Yeah.
feedback. So there's other people that have, I guess, to put it mildly, challenges too. So, and I totally hear you. For me, it's more of just how do I be able to market or at least promote the show effectively in LinkedIn, because it's almost as if the more types of information you post out there um, to promote something, I don't know if it may come off as like not spam or anything like that. So it's like, well, there's within LinkedIn. events, you're able to like send direct invitation to people you're directly connected to. So I thought, okay,
Mhm.
well maybe I'll try something different where before it's kind of like out in the wild where it's being posted. It's like, hey, we're going on live soon, and but if they're connected with me, it would come in their newsfeed. But the thing is that just like with anyone else that's connected with other people, they also got their stuff going on there. So it's almost like, well, how the heck, So I thought, well, let me try a different way to be able to push out there. So in creating the event, it allowed me to invite people directly. I guess they had like, I guess there's like some sort of subcategory of people within the marketing community to say, hey, we're gonna go on the air Thursday. Would love to invite you to come out. And so it was a part curiosity as well as a test of saying like, well, maybe this might be another a unique way of not only promoting it, but at least try to like as to like what we were trying to do in our original goal, just to be able to engage people directly. So I thought, well,
Mhm.
let me try that and see. So although I forget what the numbers are like, so it pushed out like 150 invitations. I know
Okay.
9 people said that they were going to attend. I don't know if it's like either it's drive time or they're about to go home and stuff and they're not seeing it live and they may catch the replay. So I was like, well, okay. So I would imagine that I'll probably get a better sense like after the past week as to if people catching it on the replay or they're or maybe they may be able to catch it live before we go off here. But but to even make a longer answer longer, uh, no, actually, so partly it's part test, part trying to find ways to better um, get visibility and promoting the program, and maybe a little bit adventurous, I guess, is the way to answer it.
You're a dangerous man. You are a dangerous man. And look, it's all good if some of the technology didn't work, and the live audience isn't as robust as we wanted it to be. Like I said, the replay squad is always strong, so we can definitely have that. But look, there's nothing wrong with you and I having a conversation and throwing stuff against the wall, seeing what sticks. But because I was real.
Exactly.
I was curious to hear again what you're using and what your process is and what your workflow is because since I'm always iterating, right? I'm always in the midst of trying to figure out not not always searching for the latest and greatest and newest thing, but really trying to find the thing to minimize the cycles, right? Because we're so busy, we're so focused on improving our craft, right? And once we turn
Right.
the lights on, once we hit record, we're 100% focused. So all the stuff around that, we want that to be dialed in as well, so we can focus on the delivery of the message, delivery of the content, and delivery to our
Right.
community. So, um, and then I also think about where do I want to be with that message? I can't be on Twitch all the time. I can't be on I don't know, Pinterest all the there are specific places across the web that I can be and that I can focus on where I have a voice and where I have some subject matter expertise and kind of a following. So I can't be
Right.
pushing messages all the time to these disparate locations because one, they're adding minimal value as compared to if I spent more time focusing on my YouTube community, my Instagram community, as opposed to focusing on my TikTok and my Snapchat community, which is at zero right now, and that's consciously right because I don't do anything there. But will it ever eventually make sense for me? Probably, but maybe. Today, right now, not really. So I'm focused again on the LinkedIn community. I'm focused on YouTube. Focused on bringing in all of the various relationships that I have, like you have as well on Facebook and things of that nature, and just curating all of that and trying to bring folks together. So um, I'm trying to find the right tool to assist and again make the life a little bit easier as opposed to a tool to
Yep.
replace the actual effort, right? So as long as it seamlessly fits into my workflow, and if I have to change that workflow to be more effective, then I'm down to do that. So um,
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that about just workflows and what works in terms of where you can concentrate your time and effort. And
mhm.
I know like before like early iterations, just when people are getting comfortable with the idea of social media marketing or just social marketing or whatever the term I can't think of right now. It it was the idea of like trying to be everywhere at once, and then it's almost like it's tapered down to like a niche approach. Like, okay, knowing where your audience are, that's where you want to focus. So if your audience is in YouTube, LinkedIn, that's where you got to be. If it turns out that if other people have like other accounts like TikTok stuff, that's cool too. Because like if it turns out your audience happens to be there, at least you've got the infrastructure set up. So all you gotta do is just post the content there. So it's almost like there's like a different level of how people are better managing their time, as well as the type of resources used to help make their efforts a little bit more easier workflow. And it's just a matter that I think, to your point, yeah. I mean, it's just like what works, who you want to go after is where but it doesn't hurt things automated. You can. I know, like sometimes I have some people like in I don't know if I would call them social marketing consultant, but I know like they like to have things more like salt of the earth, like they do things manually. And I mean, to a point, I understand like what they're saying is that they want to make sure that the material is coming authentic. It's not like something that's pre-planned that there's no interaction. And that's where I kind of like focus like on a hybrid approach where like, yeah, there's gonna be some content there that I don't really need to be there on top of it live or to post it manually. That it's good to have a schedule just because it just makes things a little manageable than to worry about like, oh, I gotta post it tomorrow.
Well, see, we didn't even go into that whole aspect, right? Content calendars and actually pre-populating that with posts and content for either your blog or for your live and your media efforts, right? I mean, that gets into a whole nother realm, right? Are you writing those down physically
Right.
in your Rocket Book or your Moleskin, or are you using something like Google Docs, or are you using something? Look, Canva actually now has a content calendar built in, and look, I love that. I am a huge proponent of something like Canva, especially their Pro plan where you get so many assets. But I mean, outside of again posting the social channels, being able to know 3, 4, 5 days in advance what content you want to publish where, and thinking about it 3, 4, 5 days ahead of time, pre-populating that into some system, into some platform or some tool, and just letting that take over and go live when it's supposed to. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, right? That's where that's next level. That's where you can actually then start scaling, right? As opposed to, we got Verbose perspectives the last Thursday of every month.
Mhm.
We know what the topic is. We got to do all these things ahead of it, during it, and behind it. But if you can take that administrative piece out of that last minute push to really promote the show, and do some of those things automatically 1 week, 2 week, for whatever ahead of time, then you can focus again on looking in the camera, talking to the audience, delivering the content, and you're not worrying about what's happening again pre, during, and post. Right? I've already got the ideas, and I've already got the drafts for the show that I did this morning, the show that I'm going to do in 45 minutes. And I haven't done the ones for this particular show yet, because again, I consciously and purposely wanted this one to be more ad lib, and into where we just came off the cuff with some things. So again, man,
Right.
just being able to have resources and tools in place to lighten the load. Good Lord, right? I mean, there's already so much on our minds on a daily basis. So if we can do anything as entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, content creators in general, just to make our workflow a little more seamless, I'm all for it. Money is an object, so I mean, you can't just start throwing money at every single thing out there. But
Right.
be very smart about how you spend your dollars and cents, and strive to get a return on whatever that investment is. That is my rant and my
Yeah.
soapbox for the day.
No, I mean, you won't get any arguments from me. I think it's just a matter of just like having a good head about scheduling. I'll admit, I think when I first started out in terms of just posting content, it was just having the foresight of just trying to plan like a month ahead of time.
Mhm.
And what helped was that when I was, well, I mean, in some ways, it's still a little bit difficult to come up with content off the top of the head. But I know that there's programs out there in terms of the automation solution where you'd have access to like curated material within your industry. So it's the idea like if you don't have content of your own, you could always share of others and almost like kind of like do like a narrative, like, hey, you know, I found this great article of such and such that covers this particular point. Remember I talked about this earlier? Well, read this. Or so it in a way like that helped. Where if I was having trouble coming up with ideas with a post, that it helped with the automation process of having the ability of posting other people's material. But I think it got to the point where like the I don't know. I think when I first started that about like 3 or 4 years ago, I say after the second year, it's almost like the material kind of like repeats itself, and that even though you're getting different articles, it's just like they're kind of belaboring the same point, and it's like, then it's just matter like, okay, like how much of the content I can create to be able to help offset the balance. And then it got to a point where with the automation tools that you use, if they make a change of their policy, like, oh, you know, hey, you know, if you like to continue to do this, you know, that will be the next level, like enterprise level. You could upgrade to this. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then it goes back. So it's almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's almost like, you know, what works for me. And then so there's a lot of variables as to like of coming up with the solutions as to come up with a good workflow. So it's I get takeaway for that is that just when you think you got to figure it out and have a plan, sometimes there's variables that throw a kink to it. So it's just a matter of being able to know like what resources to have of your own versus other tools that you have either outside of the management tool to be able to come up with a solution. So so it's the idea where like you can kind of get a little comfortable that you have the tool to be able to do it, but you also have to be ready to be able to pivot as to like what other resources you may need to bring in if they either discontinue the service or if they make it available at a different price point or if they phase it out. So so that's something
don't use these tools as a crutch, right? I mean, definitely use both sides of your brain as effectively as you possibly can. Before we transition or maybe close out, I want to drop you off a gem here, right? You were talking about the ability to find topics, discussion pieces for content. There's a website called answerthepublic.com. Answerthepublic.com helps you really to discover what people are talking about. So you type in a topic, a category, and then you can start drilling down into geography. So what people are talking about and asking in the United States, in Europe, in Asia Pacific, whatever the case may be, right? And it'll literally show what the trending conversation pieces around whatever topic that you put in that particular region. So there's days, months of content right there just by typing in. Like I'm on the site right now. If I type in social media and do a search, let's see, social media, do a search over on answerthepublic.com. I come up with 80 questions right off the top, and they're around the will, the why, the how, who, can, which are so all of those variations, right? In terms of social media. Will social media ever die? Where social media was used for good? Can social media cause anxiety? A wide variety of conversation pieces, right? But again, that's just looking at it from that perspective. And then there are social media to promote ministry. Social media. Can social media be toxic? So again, either blog posts, podcast conversation pieces, infocast types of conversation pieces as well. So check out answerthepublic.com. That's really where I have tended to go when either I had the writer's block or the discovery block, right? I'm not being able to come up with the topic. And that has really helped with a lot of answers to questions for me. So I'll drop that on the audience right there as the gem for the night.
Okay. And I'm trying to share that now to other links. So that's answerthepublic.com.
Yes, sir.
Actually, bookmark that as I was listening to your thoughts. So that's pretty neat. Um, oh, what was it? Not answer. It was a if I can remember the tool, it'll might with my luck, it'll probably come to me after the show. I thought there was one.
Put it in the show notes after we publish. So make sure you send me the MP4 file so I can obviously push it up to my channel, but then we'll put that in the show notes.
Yep, I mean that's that's the first thing I wrote down as like after the end of the show, send copy to James.
So it's all good, brother. It's all good. You know, it is. Those are the joys of going live and live streaming, and you have to be flexible and move with the punches. So,
indeed, yeah, I can't help but kind of cheat in my notes, but I'm glad that at least you're close to like deciding as to what management tool that you want to use, because I know that was one of the things that I hope as to the goal, if not to be able to compare notes, as to help with the decision making process of what works with you with what you want to do.
Let me bring this up as well, because I'm multitasking and I've got a great poker face, and I'm actually chatting with some folks behind the scenes, and I know we had them on the show not too long ago, but man, there are some challenges. There are some interesting opportunities for improvement. Let me put it that way. That's my best politically correct way of putting that with Restream.io. You know, the platform is the core of the platform is fantastic, right? The idea of being able to grab a stream and distribute that out to multi locations that makes sense, and being able to have a virtual CDN, content delivery network, right, where you don't have latency, you actually have no dropped packets and things like that. Being able to aggregate comments. Look, what Restream.io has built and it continues to build is fantastic. There is another platform who I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I'm gonna do it anyway because that's just the kind of guy I am. But there's another platform called Switchboard.live, who I am investigating, who does a very similar type of service delivery model, right? Allowing you to aggregate a single stream, push that out to a number of locations. I've used it a couple of times. I have had zero issues with it. Now again, maybe user limits, right? There's more people on Restream than there are on Switchboard Live. There are the same amount of people on Restream as there are on something like a StreamYard, which again, I also haven't had any. When I was using StreamYard back in the day, I had no issues with it. So again, not necessarily a knock on Restream, but there's been a number of instances, and I understand as well that there's some challenges happening within the Restream.io network today, where other folks are having challenges with pushing out their stream. So talking tools, talking social media strategy. Now let me bring it back to that to the topic of hand. Don't put all the eggs in your basket. Whatever your grandparents used to tell you, right? Don't focus on just one thing. Have alternatives for things that matter, things that resonate with you. Again, if this is how you do your business, this is how you make revenue, is this how you build and gain influence across your community. Don't just use Restream. Also use something like a StreamYard, something like a Switchboard.live.
Yep. Looks like I lost James there. Hopefully he'll come back. How's everybody doing? Let me see if I can get back. James, what happened there, buddy?
I'm about to call you something, brother. You better hope you better have a
one minute you're talking. Also, like, did he walk off? Like,
bro, I was going to. I was on my seahorse or on my soapbox, and next thing you know, I get pushed off of the network. Maybe.
I'm looking for any gremlins. I don't see anything, but as far as I know,
Mm,
you're always open. So
okay. That being said,
continue.
no, that being said, and I'll close on this note just in case I get kicked off again. Have a plethora of alternatives in your toolbox just in case one of the tools breaks and doesn't operate as expected. That being said, Mr. Lee, I think I'm rounding home, brother. I'm rounding home. I'm gonna go dump out this coffee that I have in my coffee mug, and I'm gonna throw some scotch into it now because uh, it's
uh,
after 5. It's Miller time in my neck of the woods. I know it is in your neck of the woods as well. But I'm ready to go ahead and call it the evening soon.
yep.
That was funny.
I'll end
That
the same way.
that was pretty funny actually. Because I was going in on them too, and next thing you know, they
I know.
kicked me off.
I know. It's funny because as you were talking, all of a sudden a tall boy was on your YouTube. He's like, "Where's everybody?" And I'm like saying, "We're over here on Shalala." And then I see FH Umpire popped up and thought we were both muted, and then realized it's on her end. She's
Mhm.
having issues too. So, in other words, you're not alone, man, with the challenges.
It's all good.
But yeah, I mean, to your point, yeah, I mean, I'm always like looking at ways to try to safeguard things where I'm always it always I don't want to say nervous, but it can be disconcerting where the platforms that we use
Mm.
may not be there forever, or there could be changes that could affect on what we do. And so it's always good to be able to find ways to kind of preserve or archive the work that we do, just for the fact that you never know when you have to take your ball home and play somewhere else. And so um, before I try to make sure that at least I have other places. I have copies of the show, so that if for a reason, let's say if YouTube decide to go belly up, then be
Mhm.
like, well, and so to be able to have the content archived somewhere, to be able to reproduce it in another place, is something that I try to beat into other people. Well, not literally, but
I get you.
metaphorically beat it, but just so that people have a way to be able to keep going and take it elsewhere. So that's why it's always good to have more than one tool up our sleeve. So if something goes wrong with Restream, making sure they're not pulling, and either have a StreamYard or at least
I'll be the
uh,
fall guy. It's all good. I'm used to it. My skin is thick, so it's all good. I'll be the fall guy. You don't have to say anything. On on my consumer technology show, I've talked more trash about Mr. Mark Zuckerberg and his platforms. We'll never get sponsored by Facebook on that show, so I can be that guy. I can be the evil genius. It's okay.
no
I
worries.
don't mind.
I've taken the bullet in terms of any struggles with LinkedIn, in terms
Yeah,
of others that have told me. So I bang the same drum too, although my beat might be a little bit off kilter, but it
it's all
beats me
good.
nonetheless.
I tell you what. So let's bring it home. Let's give the, I guess, the call to
Okay.
action. Let's give the I guess the summary of the statements here, right? And we talked about social media management automation. Uh, Threw out a handful of names and handful of alternatives for folks to look at. Again, we talked about
Okay.
the big players out there, the Hootsuites, the Buffers, the Sendable, Agora Post, things like that. At the end of the day, folks, choose which one resonates with what your end goal is. So if you're trying to automate content delivery, look at the one that does that. If you're trying to have a centralized dashboard that shows you where all of those channels are coming in and respond and see some analytics, choose the one that does that most effectively for your end goal. Understand that if this is something that you're seriously trying to do, that it's going to probably cost you a couple of dollars per month, per year, or whatever the case may be. So you get what you pay for. I continue to say that. So uh, be frugal with other things, but don't be cheap with things that actually bring you value and bring you positive results from a financial perspective. Again, if that's what you're doing. Um, I gave you the link to Answer the Public for being able to help with writer's block and content creation block, which I think, again, it's a gem that I haven't dropped with a lot of folks, but I'm giving it to you, Robert, because again, I think it resonates again as you have, because you have multiple shows as well on your different channels. So, I mean, just being able to have different context, different ways of asking specific questions as they relate to different topics. Take advantage of something like Answer the Public, because again, it's just helped me a lot. And I don't know everything, so I don't propose to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be in that room if I am, but it's a tool that I take advantage of, and that one actually is of no charge. But you can actually subscribe to a more in-depth analysis if you want to. Um, you say that you use pretty much many of the native tools for pushing out your content when need be and things of that, which is admirable. So that's so again, there are, each situation has different responses and different reactions. So again, you don't have to always go out and buy something. You can actually use what's already given to you. Just be aware of constraints, be aware of limitations, and if those fit into what you need today, fine, right? Do you do you? There you go. That's how I'm gonna leave the conversation. Robert Lee, do you? Do you? And,
Do
and,
me.
and I
Do,
say that in an all respectful way, and I say that in positiveness still. So I'm glad you were able to get the LinkedIn event going, because I know that was a new hurdle, and that was something that we've been trying to get going for a minute. So look, there's a positive light right there at the end of this rainbow.
yeah, and definitely, I'll need to investigate on the other side where on the restream where I know I followed the instructions to be able to post to your link, but for whatever reason it didn't go through, which surprised the heck out of
Mm.
me. So I'll have to figure something out what's going on there, or at the very least, if we can't get it at a specific spot in the playlist, I know like if we got uh, the connection to your channel, that at least will work there.
Sounds
But I
good.
will share this link with everyone. I forgot to mention it. The tool I had used before, I haven't used lately, is called QUUU.co. It was also another AppSumo deal,
Okay.
where in addition to finding ideas to write about on from Answer the Public, gives you like a curated material that you can use to share to others, so that if you're looking to break it up, so that if you need a break from creating your own content, the other solution is to share content, whether it's within your own industry, or if you're related to peers in other professions that you want to get the word out. That's another site to check out. And
Cool.
let me just see if I can try to put it here, if it'll let me. Please. That's Q, oh, I guess it won't let me. It's QUU.co. So that's another link that folks can check out, in addition to the answer the public way. Answer the public right over there.
There you go. You're mirrored. It's all
I
good.
still, yeah, I guess I still get crossed up. Okay. As always, it's always been the pleasure to pick your brain, and also to hear your thoughts, and to be in the virtual trenches, as they say. So,
Yes, sir.
um, on that note, oh, I almost forgot to do this. Don't go bad at me. Don't go bad at me. Okay. Our next show will be next month, is June 24th, which is last Thursday of June. So that's when we'll be on next. So uh, other than that, just to wrap it up and just say, it's always a pleasure, James. And if I can just hit that button there. All right. So thank you for everyone for watching. Again, you can watch the replay in the respective channels. And yes, James, I'll send over the copy as soon as we wrap up. And again, if anyone have any questions for us, or you can always not only catch the replay, but also you can always leave a question or comment in the respective places you watch the show, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So, so from Verbose perspective, I've been Rob, and
I'm that guy they call James. Thank you, sir. Be well.
Be well, everyone, and stay safe, everyone.